All right, beautiful humans. Welcome to BurnerSphere. I'm so happy you're here. Whether you're joining us from our deep playa memories, which we were just talking about, or discovering this community for the first time, you are in the right place. We are so excited to be having these conversations about sustainability today, especially around our plastic problem. So before we dive in, I want to make sure we're all friends, which looking around the room, it looks like everyone is. When you first join the platform, it's always good to friend the people around you, clicking on their nameplate and accepting their friend request so that it's easier to find us next time you're on the platform. You can always open up your friend browser and see who's here and hit the go to button. Also, it's really good to adjust your volume. If you open up your settings, which is the gear icon in the upper right, if you're on a laptop or a desktop, on your computer, it's the purple icon on your bracelet. You can adjust the volume, turn your chat volume all the way up, and maybe adjust your ambient volume. Now, we're going to be watching some videos today, so you want to keep your ambient volume turned up. That is how you adjust the volume on the videos. We are streaming live onto YouTube. So, hello to everyone watching on YouTube and hi to everyone on our Discord server. Thank you, Doug, for making this possible so that everyone can participate with whatever technology they have. As you see Doug moving around the world, know that his eyes are us streaming live. So, hello to everyone. Also, thank you, Doug, for building this world and putting this museum together. So we are in the brand new Junk Raft Museum. This museum is dedicated to the work of Dr. Marcus Eriksen, Plastic Dino, who is here with us today. What you are seeing was built from a real expedition. A vessel made from 15,000 plastic water bottles and an old airplane cockpit sailed 2,600 miles across the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. This is not a rendering of what ocean plastic looks like. This is the actual story brought inside BurnerSphere. And our guide today is someone who has spent his career making the invisible visible in classrooms, in museums, and in the middle of the ocean. He is the executive director of the Five Gyres, a scientist and educator, and one of the people most responsible for the world understanding that the plastic crisis is not just real, it is solvable. He has a PhD in science education, and his school outreach programs have reached hundreds of thousands of students across the world. His career spans Audubon Zoo, the Carnegie Museum of Natural History, the Los Angeles Zoo, and the Los Angeles Museum of Natural History. He sailed this raft you are standing right here, where he's standing next to, that he built that 1,500 plastic bottles and the old airplane cockpit 2,600 miles across to the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Please welcome Dr. Marcus Eriksen. Welcome to BurnerSphere.
Thank you. Thank you, Athena, and thank you, Doug, both of you for creating this world and our great conversations to get us to this point where we can discuss this issue of sustainability and the plastic pollution crisis that exists. So what I like to do is take you on a journey spanning 20 years. I want to go to a couple of videos here, really talk to you about, share with you my adventures. I rafted the Mississippi River back in 2003. That led me, I saw so much trash in Mississippi River. That got me involved in the plastic pollution crisis. I met Captain Charles Moore, crossed the Pacific Ocean back in 2005 with him. And then I met my wife and co-founder of the Gyres Institute, Anna Cummins, and she and I began the Gyres Institute. We built the Junk Raft together. We built this raft, 15,000 plastic bottles, and we drifted. It was myself and another co-navigator, Joel Pascal. My wife was the smart one. She stayed on land, mission control, directing everything, while we drifted to Hawaii. 15,000 plastic bottles, a Cessna aircraft as our cabin. We got to Hawaii. We had 1 million people visit our website in that first week, and we were off and running. And when I say off and running, I mean sailing. From that point, having this big adventure, we sailed around the world doing research, doing actual science. I've published close to 30 papers on this issue. I've had a chance to influence with my team, with Anna together, influence, for example, the microbead ban. You may have seen microbeads and facial scrubs got banned. We discovered those in Great Lakes back in 2013. I published the paper, and within 2 years, President Obama signed the Microbead Free Waters Act. It's been this amazing 20-year journey, and now we're involved in the United Nations. The UN is debating a treaty. We're trying to reinvent other materials besides plastics. So let me take you on a journey of this story, and I will make this as interactive as possible. Any questions you've got, feel free to interrupt me anytime, ask your question, and let's make this very active dialogue. I'd love to take you, well, you can see the raft behind me. This raft, as you can see, I thought it might get us there in 4 weeks across the ocean. Took us 13 weeks to drift right into Waikiki, leaving Los Angeles back in 2008. I lived my last month on mahi mahi and peanut butter, and it's not the best combination of food that kept me alive.
That sounds
But
disgusting, actually.
oh my goodness, we could talk about cuisine, and that wasn't the best cuisine. But I want to take you on to our first expedition. If you look to my left, where it says North Atlantic Gyre, this little blue circle, if you can see that, if you join me in that circle, I'll show you our first expedition. This is back in 2010 when we entered the North Atlantic Gyre. To give you an idea, and no one had been in the Eastern Gyre before. This is our first wake up call to a trashed ocean from shore to shore. So join me here in this blue circle and we'll
So
watch this
everybody
video
gather
together.
around the circle and let's enter it together. So let's all walk in together so it all starts at the same time. We ready? Okay,
Ready?
go on in. Let's go.
Let's bring it in.
Lots of larval fish,
Let's bring it
sargassum,
in.
and little plastic particles. Lots of larval fish, sargassum, and little plastic particles. What you got, Anna?
It's a mouthpiece, I think, for a boxer. It's got some barnacles.
What you got, Anna?
Some mouthpiece, I think, for a boxer. It's got some barnacles. Some sargassum. This is 45 minutes of scooping through another windrow in the middle of the Sargasso Sea. This is 45 through another windrow in the middle of the Sargasso Sea. It's gonna flop out. So we just pulled out this plastic bucket and we found a triggerfish inside. It's so big that it looks like it can't get out.
I think his entire life is
Found a
in this
triggerfish.
jar.
There we go. Oh my god.
Here's a triggerfish. Look at these teeth. Now look at this plastic bottle. Now we find these all around the North Atlantic Gyre. Bits of plastics chewed on by marine life.
10 degrees to port, Clive about 100 meters. Dun-dun-dun.
You know how gross that is?
Dun-dun-dun.
Let's
I
bring
know
it
it's
in.
pretty gross. We can step outside the circle for a second.
Let's bring it in.
I mean, that was kind of gross that she put that in her mouth, but I guess it's clean. It's just salt water.
Yeah, I guess so. Yes. And I always said that's why I married her, because she's an awesome human being. We actually, I'm sure this sounds familiar, she and I kind of got engaged in the playa back in 2007. That's when we started dating, and we got married about 6 months later. And that got us on this plastic odyssey. But if you look behind me, if you see the screen here, the plastic smog. So this image, this is based on all the data that we had collected. Actually, every scientist I know of had collected over the years. Let me get out of the way so you can see it. So those white blotches, So as we sailed across the ocean, each of those white blotches are where we estimate plastic was floating in the oceans, and we validated that with our data. So we've sailed well over 100,000 miles, dropping that net into the ocean to skim the ocean surface and count the particles, get some basic data. So we actually produced the first research producing a global estimate of all plastics in all oceans and all gyres. And I just published an update to that about 3 years ago, estimating over 271,000 metric tons, excuse me, 271 trillion particles of plastics weighing over a quarter million metric tons. There's a lot of plastic out in the oceans. But the good news is, if there is good news, is that what's in the ocean is so dynamic that it often just comes ashore. The reason why there's so much now is that our systems on land keep adding more. That's why, I should say, the philosophy in Burning Man, pick up your moop, whatever you bring in there, take it back with you. It's a philosophy to expand around the world, which we don't see. Um, so I'd like to take you, if you look, let's see, I want to take you next. Let's go right across here. Do you see there's a belly with a chemical formula on it right behind you?
Mm-hmm.
That's Anna's belly.
Hmm.
So I want to show you that. So while we talk about plastic trash in the oceans, and that's been I guess, the primary narrative for a long time. That's how the issue came to light. People talked about trash in the oceans, but it's much, much bigger than that. So right now, I can tell you, um, I was at a press conference about 4 months ago with Secretary Kennedy and Administrator Zeldin of the EPA. And, as much as you may or may not like this current administration, and I put my blinders on, we were talking about human health. And they were launching $144 million to support research on micro nanoplastics and human health. And I went there to support, at least there was some support of science. So I went there to talk about it, and that is the current frontier. Ocean plastics is now part of a much bigger conversation that really includes human health. So if you step into this circle with me, we're all going together.
So everybody gather
Are you ready?
around and we'll all go
Everybody
in
jump
together.
in.
There we go.
This is BPA, bisphenol A. It's a chemical commonly found in products that we use every day, things like the lining on canned foods, or DVDs, or receipt paper. Now, BPA was originally designed to be a synthetic estrogen, so it mimics the human hormone estrogen. But they found that it makes a good plastic, so we use it in things like our baby products, baby bottles, baby toys, many other common products that we use every single day. Now, BPA exposure has been linked to things like miscarriages in women, or obesity, or the growth of cancer cells. We used to believe that the dose makes the poison, or that the amount of a chemical is what makes it toxic. But the new understanding of some of these chemicals that are endocrine disruptors, like BPA, is that it's the timing of the exposure. For example, when a woman's pregnant, and when her developing child is going through brain development, or gender differentiation. It's at these times that parts per million of certain chemicals can lead to reproductive disorders. Now, the solution is to avoid exposure as much as possible, particularly for a pregnant woman. Look for baby products and baby bottles that are made out of glass. Look for your own food products that are packaged in glass or metal or paper. Personally, I want to raise a plastic-free baby.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you a bit about that video because it's near and dear to my heart. That was Anna, almost exactly 14 years ago. Because my 14-year-old daughter is with me right now here. I'm over in Europe at the moment on vacation with my family, and at that time we were just beginning to learn about the human health threat of micro nanoplastics. Now, when I was with Secretary Kennedy a few months back, we were talking about the threats of micro nanoplastics. And there were a couple other of my colleagues, researchers, that do work on nanoplastics. We have found nanoplastics in the human brain. And the guy doing that research, his name is Matt Camden, a friend of mine, he said the majority of the cases where there was an abundance, the higher the abundance of nanoplastics in the human brain, those highest cases were the people who died of Alzheimer's. Another friend of mine does work on nanoplastics in the human heart, and they found that the abundance of nanoplastics in arterial plaque, the higher the abundance, the greater risk of heart disease and stroke. So the frontier, it's really scary. I don't want to focus on the problem. We're going to get to the solution soon, but it's the frontier is very serious these days. So I want to make sure that we understand the threat, and then we'll get to the solutions. Because as much as I've experienced having sailed around the world and talking to politicians, seeing the political sort of the chaos we're experiencing right now, and the attacks on scientists, I'm still optimistic. I'm much more optimistic because I meet so many young scientists. I meet so many young activists and young pioneers making new kinds of materials, new kinds of packaging, ways to have a plastic free world. Like what Anna, my wife, just said, she wants to raise a plastic free baby. I think we will get there, but it takes vigilance. It takes constant work and defending science. I know it's a heavy
What
subject.
it is a heavy subject. So, out of the new materials that you're seeing be developed and are on the market, what would you recommend that we sort of shoot for and look for as we
That's
purchase products?
Athena. That's an excellent question. I mean, there are great ways to become more plastic free. And you always hear, bring your bag, bring your bottle. But there are many
Hmm.
companies that are doing innovative things. The biggest privately held company making packaging is called Atlantic Packaging. It's based in North Carolina. I know the CEO really well. He has a huge biomaterials lab, and he is supporting research to create, for example, a company called Sway. He works with them to pioneer a cling film like saran wrap made from seaweed. And he has another company. It's called Cruise Foam. They came out of Santa Cruz. They're making a foam alternative out of starch that mimics styrofoam, but it's made from starch. You can almost eat it. Throw in your backyard. The next rain, it goes away. And they just signed a huge contract with IKEA. So you've
Oh,
got
that's
these
great.
young scientists like Sway and Cruise Foam. They meet a pioneer who has billions, literally billions in research dollars, who's saying, let's use his business sense to accelerate the adoption, and it's working. It's really working. And that really, really inspires me. And that's where a lot of my confidence comes from, is that you're seeing this shift. And when I talk to the big petrochemical companies that are still making plastics, they tell me, they say the shift will take a long time. It's a multi-decadal shift to get away from plastics, but things can move faster as innovation and these companies come online, and they can reach what they call price parity. So this company Sway, they're getting close to price parity for a thin film like saran wrap, which means when I say price parity, having the same price as the conventional plastic that pollutes, they have the alternative that doesn't pollute, the same price. That's going to flip the system, and that's what gets me most excited. But I'd
Because
love to
when
take
we reach that, then the consumer can drive the change.
exactly, exactly. So if you see anything, things made from seaweed, I see a lot of innovation in that space. You see plastic made from seaweed, alternative materials made from seaweed, or from paper fiber. If you are buying for, let's say, a school district or procurement for your company, those are folks I love to talk to, because I tell them, I say, make the switch. Or I'll give you a great story. I went to one school in Los Angeles, and this school, they heard my story. They heard me and Anna give a talk. And they were so fired up. When their cafeteria served food on styrofoam, these kids said no. They said, no way. They launched a 2-year campaign. I got invited back. They had the superintendent of Los Angeles Unified School District in front of all these kids, in front of cameras, and LA City Council members. He said, we're going to ban styrofoam plates and switch to a kind of paper cardboard. That
There you go.
that school district, this is amazing. So Los Angeles, then they combined their buying power with New York, a school district there, one in two in Florida, and one I think in Illinois, and they were able to combine their buying power and get the price of cardboard trays cheaper than styrofoam.
Oh,
So
wow.
and there were kids. It was a classroom of 10-year-old kids that started this. So I love talking to young people, and I love hearing innovators that that are showing new ways, new materials, new science that's telling us a different story. That's kind of that's where my optimism really comes from.
Yeah.
Let's see. I want to share with you about this space. There are a couple of documentaries in this space that are longer, so I invite you to stick around, and I want to show you a couple more videos around here. But make sure you stick around. There's a lot of text that you could read, videos you could watch, and I'm going to stick around for the whole hour and a half and answer any questions you might have. But I'd like to take you. Let's go all the way across. There's a video of me holding a plastic bottle. You might find it amusing.
Hmm.
This is kind of how I got started, and I'll tell you a story there, which you might find interesting and inspiring.
So everybody start on the outside of the circle and we'll all go in together so that it all starts at the same place for us. So everyone gather. We ready? Okay. So everybody go in.
I'll need a boat.
Gotta cut the kickstand off. I won't need that on my boat. Cut the kickstand off. I won't need that on my boat. My first beaver dam. Damn those.
Yikes.
Oh my God.
That's a native
It's
snake
a little poisonous.
of the wetlands. He's a big sucker. And you can get him to open his mouth. You'll see why they call him a cottonmouth. It's really strong and really poisonous. Don't ever pick one of these up. Dude. It's the American alligator. It's the largest reptile here in North America. The American alligator is really well adapted to living here in the wetlands. I'll need a...
Okay, we can step out. So I just want to show you that. That's kind of just where I got started. When I finished my PhD at USC, I had no more school. I had no girlfriend, no house, no car. Perfect time to build a raft and float the Mississippi River. And that river trip, that was a promise I'd made to myself when I was in the when Operation Desert Storm. If you remember, if you're old enough, back in 1991, remember the Gulf War, all the burning oil wells in
Hmm.
Kuwait. So I was in the Marines then, And I saw all that environmental disaster and the human rights disaster at the same time. It really hit me hard. And but I promised to myself, if I survived the war, I would build a raft, down the Mississippi River. And I did so in 2003, about 4 years before my first time at Burning Man, and 4 years before I met my wife Anna. But I went down the river. I saw so much trash. I could not believe it. And I'd spent my youth catching snakes and alligators in Louisiana, where I grew up. I grew up in just outside New Orleans, um, about 3 miles from virgin swampland. So I went down the river. It did two things for me. It brought back my love of nature and love of people. I met so many good people, and also my determination to protect nature and protect people. And Burning Man further inspired that ethic. And that's when I met Anna. That's when we began. We actually hatched our plan to raft across the ocean. It kind of began at Burning Man. We thought, how can we use technology and tell stories? Like building that funky raft you just saw. That was a precursor for coming to Burning Man and falling in love with the innovation and technology and engineering that goes into all the art in this space. But that journey, that ethic, protect nature, protect people, is what began everything you see here. And I share that with Anna, and I share it with the whole Burning Man community and all of you. And so I'd like now to go upstairs. There's one video I want to show you up top. You can go up the stairs on all around you, get to the top, and I'll be staying in front of the movie screen there.
So let's head on up. Lots of different stairwells to choose from. Oh, I am
Let's
so
see.
tangled.
Where am I? Okay. I don't know if you can see me over by, there's a picture of the Junk Raft. It says June 2008 in front of it. Everyone see that? So there are three videos up here. The one that's on your right, it says Junk on the big screen there. That's the longer documentary. That's about 28 minutes long and really tells the entire story about all the activism that followed the Junk Raft expedition. And on my right, I'll take you to this one next, is about some of the artwork. Understanding now how art and science work together to tell a much bigger and better story and more inclusive. Right now, I want to take into this little video. This is about bringing the Junk Raft to Burning Man and why it was a perfect place to tell the story. We're going to gather around the blue circle here. We'll step in together. Am I ready? And let's go. That was a slow creak I heard for 3 months at sea. 88 days across the ocean to Hawaii.
Yay, we're in!
So here we are. This is the Junk Raft we brought to Burning Man. It's all plastic bottles. They're all captured and stuffed into these giant 30-foot long socks made from fishing nets.
Where do you go?
This thing we launched in June 1st, 2008. It was a 3-month voyage all the way to Hawaii.
And this has been a dream for the last 2 years to get this thing here. We thought, wouldn't it be an amazing coup to bring Junk Raft that crossed the Pacific Ocean to another sort of playa, the playa here at Burning Man. And here it is.
I mean, thousands of people coming by, just amazed at the journey, but then listening to the story of the adventure, but the story of what's happened in our world. All the plastic trash, how we have trashed our planet in just this 50 short years.
Lillian, that there's an island of plastic at sea somewhere.
So when people come up saying, yeah, I've heard about that island the size of Texas, I can bring them right here and show them, well, here's the island, and it's not really an island. This is from the middle of the North Pacific Ocean, South Pacific, Indian Ocean, South Atlantic, and North Atlantic. And this allows people to come up and read about a gyre and get a little scientific knowledge about it, and then see about solutions.
This is the story that draws people in, and then when we get them passionate, wanting to help, and we say, okay, here's where we need your help.
We've been trying to hang out here as much as possible to chat with people, so it's pretty cool to be able to show people how this actually came from a gyre, from one of those islands.
Let me begin. Just tell me when, and I will dive right in and start swimming.
So often things go the other way. They start here and they go out into the world. So for you to sort of connect with us with very similar values and bring the power of your experience and your art here means a lot. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's important work, and I really admire it.
Lillian, a folk opera, is a performance that deals with plastic pollution indirectly. It's about a guy that's convinced everything's ever lost in his life has ended up in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
To the Great Pacific Drive, to the oceanic garbage patch.
And through playing that show around, I met Marcus and Anna. They invited me here to probably the funkiest and best performance venue of all time.
What I love is that we've been meeting out here at Burning Man a marine biologist today that does ocean mapping around the world. We've met so many amazing artists, other scientists, other sailors that just want to help.
Well, I hope you hear this.
I mean, the number of PhDs and artists per capita is far greater here than I think anywhere else in the world.
I need you to come through for me on the other side. Tie with strings the lost things so they're ready when I arrive. Travel through the divide and come out alive.
Thanks.
All right, I think we can step out of the circle.
That was great.
Thank you, thank you. It was such an amazing experience to bring the raft here. You know, the last thing I said in that video was the number of PhDs and artists at Burning Man per capita is greater than any place else in the world. I meant that, and I still do. It's just an amazing community. So much comes out of Burning Man and the people that are there. As you all know, I'm speaking to the choir. But what I've really taken from, I've only been in Burning Man 3 times, and I'm looking forward to coming back. Maybe when my daughter's a bit older. But the blend of art and science, I want to show you, perhaps one of the last videos I'll show you, then I'll let you just wander around and answer questions. If you look right next to me here, Let's Talk Trash. This is, before you go in there, I'll tell you about it, is that, you know, I've written a lot of research papers, and my team at Five Gyres, and Anna's actually the executive director right now. Anna directs the nonprofit, and she brings in policymakers. We have people who are good at writing policy. I'm good at writing research papers. We have new scientists on board, but it doesn't reach everyone. I mean, how many people read an abstract to a research paper? Art is the way to reach so many more people, especially the public when we have the ability to vote on our future. So I really explored art. I want to share with you a few ways, ways to communicate abstract subjects. So what I'll show you here is an installation. I was invited, and I was so honored and privileged to create a few art pieces. I want to share those with you, a few things. And then we'll come out of the circle, and I want to ask any questions you might have, let you wander around a bit. All the panels you see around here, like the ones you see that says Grassroots Organizer, 8 Ocean Heroes, all these panels, the blue and white, it's part of a traveling exhibition we have that's been going to science centers across the country. So we're really steeped in doing the science, having the science turn to policy, and using art and exhibitions to communicate to a broader audience. So please join me in this last little circle here. And like I said, I'll be around to answer any questions you might have. Are you ready? Okay, let's all go in.
Ocean trash is a symptom of a land-based problem. We can't just say, if we can solve the ocean plastic problem, we're done. This is a map of the world made with all the trash we've collected over the last 10 years of ocean exploration. About 20 expeditions, 100,000 miles. We've been really everywhere. Antarctic, Great Lakes, Mediterranean. And this is all the trash. For years, I've been storing in my garage. So this was me taking each box and then putting it into a crock pot. We'd throw like maybe 1 kilo of trash in there, crank it up 450 degrees Fahrenheit, come back an hour, and then it would just melt into a homogenized goo. Let it dry out and cut the squares. 456 tiles. It's the world's trash. You kind of have this feeling that when you touch a piece of plastic on the ground, now you own it. You can't put it back without, being a litter bug. I find the bits and pieces that were relevant to that particular place in the world. Here you can see, this is sort of Southeast Asia. That's a buoy that we collected. There's a surf fin on the coast of Mexico right here. No one is immune to this problem. I mean, in the middle of Kansas, or if you're in Moscow, or you're in Dar es Salaam, I mean, every country far, far inland is losing trash to the oceans. We have to really put the onus on those who are making stuff. Brands are very good at getting their product in the most remote parts of the planet. I can't tell you how many Coca-Cola signs I've seen in the middle of the rainforest, middle of the desert, but to get it back is where the system fails. Creating a circular economy where everything has a plan, everything has a value to get it back where it came from. That's the world that we want. We don't want a world where this is the end game for plastics. This is called synthetic equilibrium, and the idea is that there are these different ecological impacts of plastics. Cigarette lighters were pulled out of the albatross skeletons on Midway. This is from one single camel in Dubai. It was found inside the rib cage of a dead camel in the desert. And on the far end there is a tangled mass of netting called a ghost net. Found that off the coast of Japan. 3 fish stuck in it had just died. They were decomposing. And that net could be 20, 30 years old. So you have a seabird colony eating trash. You have camels eating thousands of plastic bags. And you have countless fish, thousands of fish getting tangled in these old, lost, derelict nets. There's a new balance of nature that's happening right now as all living things try to adapt to this new material, plastic, that's been inputted into every biome across the planet. When we make stuff, it becomes consumed, it becomes waste, and where it becomes waste is where it stays. That doesn't work in the world today. The goal is that this drives home the message that single-use plastics have to go.
powerful art.
Yeah, that was
Well,
fantastic.
thank you, thank you. Well, I want to just thank all of you for coming here and experiencing this with me, giving the privilege to share these stories, and hopefully inspire you to make changes in your lives. Anywhere, any opportunity to refuse single-use plastics, that's the biggest bang for your buck. And it's where you spend your bucks that really matter. And I want to share with you, there is so much innovation out there. There's so many people, young scientists, innovative companies that are just saying there's a better way. There's a better way to do this. And the more that we, as a Burning Man community and a global community, can support that innovation and bring in a new way of being in the world, the better off we'll be. And my 14-year-old daughter, she'll be 14 in a couple of weeks, will have a good life, and all of our children. I hope that doesn't sound too
Amen.
corny, but that's what's at stake. Thank you.
No,
Well,
it's very true.
Thank you so
So-
much.
My pleasure.
Do we have any questions? Would anybody like to ask Marcus a question?
Your story about the school kids who replaced the styrofoam with the paper trays or whatever, that's a great
Yes.
success story. Off the top of your head, is there any like go-to paper packaging? If I go to a restaurant and their to-go food is coming in a styrofoam clamshell, can I suggest a company that's kind of like a good alternative for them to look into, rather than just I wish you had paper and for them to try to figure it out?
That's a great question to get the specifics. It's our organization, the 5 Gyres Institute, the number 5 GYRES. We have a whole list of solutions for restaurants, for schools, for an individual. And for example, in Los Angeles, we're pushing Reuse LA, which is pushing restaurants to eliminate straws, to make plastic forks and napkins by request only.
All right, I'll check it
I
out.
have
Cool.
noticed when I go to a restaurant, they're asking me now. They're like, "Do you
Yeah.
want utensils?" And I always say no. I'm like, "No, don't give them to me." I love that they ask. It saves the restaurant money as well, instead of them just
Everybody wins.
giving
Yep.
me stuff that I'm gonna throw in a drawer or ultimately throw away. So I'm actually, I have just noticed that that's happening.
And you also see like the wooden utensils and other sort of
The bamboo.
green alternatives. Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's
I've
working
heard this
slowly but
term, the
surely.
Great Pacific Garbage Patch, but I don't know exactly what that is. Like I am envisioning this, like, like a landfill, but in the middle of the ocean. But you've been there. So what is it?
It's like a landfill in the middle of the ocean.
I know. Oh, did we lose you,
might be
Marcus?
muted. Or,
He's not.
no, he's not muted.
I mean, I heard is that
Frozen.
the concept of what you said, Athena, about it being this is that it's actually more just the microplastics. I mean, like that's because I saw some guy went there expecting to see a big landfill, but it's
And
actually
it's not.
no, it's microplastics though in the same thing.
Right.
It's you're not going to go and I think some guy went there thinking he was going to scoop it up and couldn't find anything, but the microplastics of everything either decomposes, breaks apart, or
Right.
sinks to the bottom.
Yeah. The reason I asked him the question is he's the guy that went.
Yeah. Did we lose his voice?
I think so. I think we lost him. Hold on, let me send him a text message.
Stuck.
Checking out the
We are not hearing
the
you.
recommendations though on better suppliers is a really good call to action there. That's what I'm going to do next. Just thinking about paying more attention, like when I'm on campus or going to places.
Right.
If I already have in mind maybe, I guess it doesn't matter if it's local, but if there are local suppliers, but then even other suppliers too that I could suggest, that's a really good next
Yeah.
step.
I bet there are
And
sort
I
of
often
regional.
carry my own to-go containers with me. So when I go to a
Yeah,
restaurant
Yeah.
and I know they're going to serve me too much food, sometimes, like if it's like a fast food chain, sometimes they'll actually put my food in my own container, but most of the time they're like,
Cool.
"Oh no, for health reasons we
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
do
yeah.
that."
Mm-hmm.
Right? But if I'm at a restaurant and I know that I'm going to take food home, I try to take a container with me.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a real smart idea.
There's little things that we can do, like
Mm-hmm.
carrying a cup with you when you're like no more solo cups. If you throw a party, tell everyone to bring
Yeah.
their own cup. Things that we do as burners on
Mm-hmm.
Playa, like we always have our own cups, we always have our own
Mm-hmm.
utensils, we
Mm-hmm.
always have our own plates. Well, why can't we just do that all the time?
Right.
We do here. All our burner friends here, when we throw parties, everyone brings their own cup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
throwing away cups is one of the dumbest things of all time.
Yeah, yeah, and the plastic bags, like I continually use Ziploc bags. Like
Mhm.
I'll use it for food,
Yep.
and then after that I'll clean it out and I'll use it for all sorts of non-food things until
Yeah.
such time as like the zipper finally breaks on it.
Right.
And then I'll be like, "Okay, can't use it anymore."
Mm-hmm.
Still frozen. He said check out the website, but yeah, maybe put it on a poster somewhere.
Good idea.
Might be.
Do you know why it says it's summer?
Sheet carry around in your wallet or something.
Some
Yeah,
of
I
these
wonder-
panels say they're casts from something. Are they actual things in the real world that are cast from?
Yeah,
junk
Bessie says
plastic?
hello.
Oh, is he here?
Hey, he's not
It
here. No.
says this cast is
No,
made
no,
from
no,
PET
he
bottles.
crashed.
Discord.
I'm texting with him.
Cast.
See, it says here this cast was made from PET bottles, so that's what I'm wondering if this exists. Okay.
Yeah, there's also like I talked to him about the possibility of scanning the Junk Raft and actually having a model of the
Yeah.
Junk Raft in here. We just need to go to wherever these things are and do that. I was actually at Burning Man in 2011, and I remember seeing the Junk Raft.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Music.
Raft ride.
08 is, yeah. 08 is when he sailed it. 2011 was when it was on Playa.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back.
Oh,
I'm back.
doppelganger.
Wait,
Yay!
hang on. Now I'm downstairs. Let me get back upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
His mouth moves on this one. That's cool.
On the computer.
Say hello to yourself.
Oh, he just went downstairs again.
Sorry.
Here we go.
There we
And
go.
you're back.
Mobius stairs.
Stand
Sorry,
right
everyone.
next to yourself.
That's okay. Yeah, now you have a doppelganger.
Are there two of me? Is that me over there?
Yeah, that's
yeah.
you. Yeah,
He's recycled.
yeah, this one's you too.
Oh my goodness.
Say hello to yourself.
So, hi, self.
And the mouth
Why the
guard.
long face?
This is the future of VR. We are going to be having we're meeting ourselves.
I know. I know. So, Marcus, I
Oh
asked
my
the
goodness.
question: what was it like to go to the Great Pacific Garbage Patch?
Well, at first I was expecting a patch, like a solid mass of plastic trash, and it wasn't that at all. I mean, we would see the occasional buoy and a bottle cap, a plastic fork, but it was really blue seas until you looked down. What you saw was a kaleidoscope of microplastics, and once you saw that, every time I looked down, I saw the same thing, and I realized That's how I coined that term, the smog of the sea. It's like the way you look up over cities, see air pollution. It's just a trillions of particles of, different chemical compounds. Same in the oceans. You have this particulate that spreads over millions of square nautical miles. So, and that's worse because it's bioavailable. And those little particles, they're absorbing compounds like DDT and PCBs and other persistent organic pollutants that don't mix with water. They'll stick to plastics. So when you have trillions of particles in the open ocean, animals can consume them. They can't eat a buoy, but they'll eat a rice grain sized fragment of plastics. And that's how it becomes a problem for you and I, because nanoplastics down to the sub-micron size become bioavailable to us and can translocate from our stomachs to our bloodstream, to our organs, to our brains. So in the middle of the garbage patch, you're not going to see an island of trash. It's a smog of the sea, and as that becomes smaller and smaller, it's now a garbage patch within us. And that might sound horrible, but as I mentioned, there are things that can be done. What I think is going to happen to all the trash in the oceans, trash around us, it'll become sequestered in sediment. It'll become a layer of trash. There will always be this geologic layer called the Anthropocene, defined not by our bones, but by our trash. If we can stop making more trash, we can live above the mistakes of our past. And that's the world I hope that we can get to.
I'm now envisioning, you know how like you see that line of quartz in a rock, or you see the various levels of geology, and then there was an earthquake and you see it all. Exactly. They're going to take a core sample, and there's going to be this one slice of a period of time that is just plastic.
Yeah,
that
that right there
like
was growing pains.
Yeah.
Strata.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. There's actually a research paper that was published that was arguing just that case, that geologically we should define the Anthropocene by this stratigraphic layer circa 1950 to 2050 that would be identified by the marker of plastics. But unfortunately, the Geological Society of America didn't want to adopt this new term, the Anthropocene, at least not yet. But yeah, it's interesting.
So microplastics are found everywhere, in our deepest oceans, trenches, now in our human blood, even in our Arctic ice. So what are we doing about it? I know that there's this thing that the UN is talking about, the plastics treaty. Is there
Yes.
anything moving forward with that?
There is, but it's oh my goodness. I've done a lot of science. I much prefer to be a scientist and an artist than a policymaker. So I'll tell you what, I had a chance to attend 3 of the 6 UN gatherings where they invite 180 countries to the UN, and they were doing it in different places. Like they were in Ottawa, Canada, they were in Kenya, they were in Switzerland. They'd host these huge gatherings, and 4,000 delegates would show up, and you'd watch them debate the particulars of a treaty, whether "and" should be an or how they should scrap this treaty. But I watched the countries that want to continue plastics, like all the OPEC countries. There's one group called the Like-Minded Group of all these UN countries, and they were Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, Qatar, Russia, and China. They created this huge bloc that was trying to derail the treaty every moment they got. They would do things as ridiculous as they'd stand up when there were 4,000 people in the room, and Russia would start rambling. I mean, really rambling, just trying to run out the clock. And then they would stop, and then Saudi Arabia would come up, do the same thing, start running out the clock. And they were successful in derailing this treaty to some degree. Now, in this treaty, you've got the High Ambition Coalition, and that consists of half the countries of the world, and they're against the like-minded group, which are the oil-producing countries. And this is the fight happening at the international level. Now, I'm a part of a group called the Scientists Coalition, and we're 900 scientists that advise countries around the world on what's the latest science, and we're there to answer any questions any delegate might have. Now, the last gathering just happened a few weeks ago in Nairobi. So this UN treaty is happening right now. So if you ever want to be involved, just Google UN treaty. You can see the latest. It's often pretty dry dialogue. At the Scientist Coalition, we give really good updates on where the treaty is. But I can tell you the big players that are in the way, it's Saudi Arabia, it's China, it's Russia, it's all the oil producing countries. They don't want to stop making plastics. They want to kill any treaty. And all we want is common sense stuff. We want things like reductions in the amount of plastics being used for single use materials because of their ubiquity as pollutants. We want to take plastics out of items used in children's toys, especially some of the chemicals most damaging, like BPA and phthalates and other chemicals. They're very common sense things. But the oil producing countries, I mean, they've earned their wealth by selling fossil fuels. And they are not going to stop at anything to protect their exploitation of fossil fuels to make a profit. It's that simple, and it's causing the trashing of our planet and the trashing of the bodies of 8 billion people. But I can tell you the Scientist Coalition and half the world's countries are in this for the long haul. And there is a non-stop fight. And we often say constant pressure over time changes the world, and I believe that. So this fight continues. If you want to stay in touch with me, I'll give you updates. I'll send you links where we are with the UN treaty. It's an ongoing struggle. I'll leave it at that.
Is the United States a friend or foe on the international stage?
They play the
A little of both.
they play the card of being sort of neutral, but they're not. They're very much on the side of the like-minded coalition. Although they're not officially going to align internationally with China or Russia, they align philosophically with the two. So I can tell you, the American industries that were there at the UN, like the American Chemistry Council, in all the big petrochemical companies, they were there at the UN, there to lobby for their interests. I can tell you, lobbyists outnumbered the UN delegates like 3-1. It was unbelievable. But as long as the Science Coalition stays strong, and the Science Coalition began with 3 people at the first gathering in Kenya back in maybe 5 years ago. That was the first UN meeting. Now at the 6th one, 900 scientists strong.
Cool.
And we're there to answer questions and do as much advocacy that we can that's grounded in published science.
Excellent.
Excellent. Any other
Thank
questions?
You said you had a meeting or with Secretary Kennedy and Lee Zeldin. Were you having a meeting directly with them, or was it part of a thing? And what was their take on what at the event?
It was interesting, you know. As much as I'm very much, my politics run very dark green, and I was really surprised. I was glad I got invited, and it was based on the scientific work I've done. Because now I'm very much what I call an honest broker. Give policymakers the science they need to make the right decision, but lean into, you know, what's going to really help the planet, what's going to help people, and that's kind of the way I present my science. So I was asked to talk about the abundance of microplastics worldwide. So I would talk about it, and then I'd often reference my colleagues doing research on human health. So I directly met with Kennedy and his team. I know his chief of staff really well. That helped me to get into the room. With Zeldin, it was a short meeting. With Zeldin, it's pretty amazing. I was told not to mention the word environment in our press release, our press conference. And I was like, but wait, you're the EPA, you're the Environment in Protection
Yeah.
Agency. I couldn't believe it. As many of you know, Zeldin is the chief deregulator, but he was there, kind of dragged in by Kennedy to pass this microplastics bill. As long as it wasn't about the environment, it was going to focus on human health, and that's where Zeldin took interest. And his interest and Kennedy's interest was primarily on the research that supports how is plastic, micro, and actually nanoscale plastics harming humans. Where's the research? Where's the frontier research? What should be published? What kind of research? Um, then also, second is technical research. How do you detect nanoplastics in human tissues? It's so hard to differentiate something at submicron scale, not get contamination, not get false readings, differentiate that organic carbon-based plastic molecule from other organics, extremely difficult. And the third question when asked is how to get it out of people, which I kind of think was a good question, maybe the wrong question. The best question is how do you keep it out in the first place? I was much more focused on prevention. But what I get from Kennedy and his team is he's doing what he can. Like his philosophy is it's better to be inside the tent, trying to make change, than outside the tent making noise no one hears. That's his philosophy. Whether you agree or disagree, that's what he's doing. He's inside the tent making noise, that they're listening to him. He got this 144 million directed towards research, so I support that. So
Fair
that
enough.
money, that money's been spent. It went to mostly research institutions and universities doing clinical research on new technologies and ways to measure and detect harmful effects from nanoplastics. So they're trying to move fast. Kennedy wanted to get the money spent before midterms. I can tell you, politics, DC is not a place where I want to operate. I much prefer being on the playa or being in the lab.
Amen to that.
Yes.
You would think that all these politicians, they're aging and they're getting older and they're having
Yeah,
health
the health
problems.
angle
The health angle,
affects them as much
exactly.
as
That it's like, well, you're getting dementia and Alzheimer's because of nanoplastics in your own body. Like, we can do something about this.
You would think so. You think they could, but I've learned from being at the UN the power of lobbyists. That some of these lobbyists, some of these companies, they make sure that they have offices and research labs in every state in the country, so they can use that as leverage against policymakers that might vote against them. They can say, "Hey, we employ this many people, spend this many dollars in your state." I learned that trick of the trade. So,
interesting.
even though we think that politicians vote against their best interests, and they do a lot of the time, but it's these complexities, these manufactured pros and cons that industry knows how to play this game. It's sinister. It's a kind of warfare, and I don't like it. But like I said, I think I mentioned earlier the idea of constant pressure over time. We just can't give up, and I think over time we will get the change we want. The UN's a great example. We're wearing down the opposition. I think. But no one's giving up anytime soon.
Was there anything that we can do now, like this week, something actionable?
Actionable this week, I think, talk to your local, well, no one's in school right now at this moment, your local restaurant. You can go to your local coffee shop and say, why are you putting those stupid little stoppers in my cup lid? Why are you using plastic cups in the first place? Are you supporting transitioning to other materials? You can tell the coffee owner, do you know I find your branded coffee mug and cup on the street? Why don't you switch to paper? It's getting more cost effective, and why not do it? I think the more pressure they hear from consumers, I think the better chances are that they will make that switch. and
the
then get
best
organized.
is like you can save money doing it too, right? If like you can
Yeah.
find that.
Yes, yes, you can. I often get that same question when I give talks: is what can we do? I often tell people to get organized. Someone mentioned that story of that one school. It was Thomas Starr King Middle School in Los Angeles, and these kids, 10-year-olds, got fired up. They got organized. What they actually did is they convinced their principal to let them hang about 5,000 styrofoam trays in the tree. They strung them all together, and they spent some money, and they bought plastic little baskets to hold their burrito and pizza in rather than a styrofoam tray, a reusable basket. And they saved that school $10,000 in 1 year. That is what got the superintendent to pay attention. So these 10-year-olds found an innovative way to save money for the district. And that trickled to a national impact when all these school districts came together. So I tell people, get organized, but then in your daily lives, look for examples where you can tell a proprietor of a company, say, hey, why not make the switch? Go to paper straw than plastic straw. Or these two companies, actually, if you have the means to invest, Sway, it does a seaweed cling wrap. Cruise Foam does a starch foam alternative to styrofoam. These companies are rising, and I believe in their products so much that they're going to replace the status quo. And there are many, many like them, these rising stars that are replacing plastics with more earth-friendly materials. So you can invest, you can tell your local proprietor to make a change, or get organized and do something big at your local level.
Yeah, call your local politicians.
Oh yes, always, always.
Always.
Yes.
Always. We have time for one more question, and then we should probably close out and let you get on with your evening.
Yes.
Any other questions? Yes, Greg.
Yeah, hi there. Can you talk a little bit about the work going on with mycelium and mushrooms replacing cardboard and other things like that that have shown promise, but initially are a little bit expensive to convince vendors to replace paper and plastic and other things like that. There are a lot of natural materials they're trying to promote them for replacing the non-renewables or
Sure.
non-renewable. Yeah.
That's a really good question. There was a big company I followed called Ecovative. They were using mycelium. They were inoculating sawdust to make different formed shapes. For a while, they had a contract making packaging for wine bottles. You'd see this. It's really cool, stop action video where you'd see like a bunch of sawdust. They would turn white with mycelium, but it was growing in a mold that was the shape of a wine bottle, and they used that to package wine. I know they got some big contracts. I think IKEA might have been one of theirs also. I think Cruise Foam now has IKEA contract. They've moved on to using mycelium to make a wood product, almost like a veneer wood panel.
Like a building material.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think mycelium is one of many kinds of materials. I think the challenge that Ecovative had was the cost. It's the price parity which holds back a lot of companies. That's why I like this company, Atlantic Packaging, that took on Sway and Cruise Foam. And his goal was, he was like, look, your product works, but your cost doesn't. And using his business sense, he was able to bring it to scale, bring the price down for the Sway and Cruise Foam and their materials, their starch and their cling film. Ecovative, I did meet someone working at Ecovative last year. The company I first heard of almost 7-8 years ago. They are no longer making packaging, and they're, like I said, in that wood panel kind of. That's their space they're looking in now.
Does it look like the government, anybody in the government, is delegated to study these, eco replacing materials and forecast a way to propose to the government to fund or to support some of these companies to make up for the price parity?
I wish I could say yes, but right now, with this administration, it's not going to happen. I've applied for a few other government grants, and anything that has to do with sustainability, that's one of the key words, that buzzwords that makes your contract or makes your proposal leave the stack.
Well, if
It's
the Trump
unfortunate.
family can make money on it, then it'll become
That's
their
true.
favorite
Add
thing.
gold
Yeah.
to it somehow.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a different word just for talking to them that we could use, you know, a different way of describing it.
They need to
I
wet
think
their beak.
I think you're spot on. Like I actually don't use the word sustainability as much anymore. I use what's the word now? Self-sufficiency.
Mm.
When I talk about
Mhm.
sustainability,
Use
Yeah,
use the
that's a
word
good one.
profit recovery or something that they understand.
there you go,
Yeah.
Throw
poverty
profit in
recovery,
there.
or community
Self-sufficiency is
resilience.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, because it means almost the same thing. Or regional
Mhm.
reliance is a term being used for small
Mm.
communities being able to do
Mm.
what they can within a short radius where they live, procure the materials, and no one argues with being self-sufficient and self-contained within your community. I find Republicans, Democrats alike like those kinds of buzzwords. So
Yeah.
I like that you brought that up, shifting terminology. The same idea.
Yeah, regional. Did you say
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I
reliability?
mean, people
Regional
Regional
reliance.
reliance.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. And
people
Resilience.
self-sufficiency.
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, people want to speak truth to power, so they choose their words carefully, but unfortunately, power doesn't want to use those words. And if you need power to help you, you got to change your vocabulary. As
Mhm.
distasteful as it feels, you know,
Yeah.
for people to do that.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
Reframe and reuse.
in
I
some
like that.
ways when you reframe it, it gets past some of those like auto barriers that they had up
Right.
and it helps plant the seeds
Right.
of thinking about it. And then who knows, maybe in the future they'll come around to liking sustainability, but they had to get those seeds planted of just thinking about this issue in the first place. So yeah.
Agree.
Yep.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
if I could share one last thing with
Sure.
you.
Yes.
So Ann and I are embarking on a new nonprofit called Leap Lab. It's a network of science centers. We have two we're building, and the one I'd like to invite you to is where we're going to display the Junk Raft. So in Ventura County, just north of Los Angeles, Ann and I, we live in Santa Paula, and when we first moved there 5 years ago, there was a museum there called the California Oil Museum, and it was funded by Chevron, and it was hosted in the building where Chevron began in 1890. It's called the Union Oil Building. It's a historical landmark, and we went there within the first few months of moving to Santa Paula, 5, 6 years ago. Within 6 months, they shut down. Fiscal mismanagement. Then the city began looking for a new idea. And I raised my hand and we put a proposal to build a science center in this historic building. I've been digging dinosaurs as a side hustle for 35 years, and I have a large collection. I split the museum, put in dinosaurs in there. I study plastics now, but that's my side passion. And they said yes. They caught on. After they said yes, gives a 20-year contract. They caught on to our ocean plastics activism, advocacy work, and science. And right now, as we speak, there is a bit of a battle between messaging of of us being in that space, and it being the place where Chevron began 130 years ago. The oil industry has now rented the the second floor above us, so we have oil industry above us and a progressive science center below, and we're going to display the Junk Raft probably a year from now, and it is a battle of terminology. When I brought up climate change, all their hairs bristled. They didn't like that word. If I bring up sustainability, which I haven't, I know they won't like it. But if I say regional reliance and I come about self-sufficiency, no, that's okay. So we're going to have a junk raft there a year from now. I invite you to come to what's called the Ventura County Science Center, one of Leap Lab centers. If you've got ideas on messaging around climate change that doesn't make the hair on the back of oil executives stand up. I'd like to find a way to get the point across without being too antagonistic up front. That's where my mind is right now. I'm part UN treaty and plastic pollution, and part this science education and communication. So you guys, Burning Man, is the perfect audience to think of innovative, artistic ways, creative ways to think how to communicate science. I'll throw it out there, open invitation to join this journey.
Disguise it as art.
Yes.
Yeah, disguise science as art.
If we have ideas, like messaging ideas, is there like a forum or a Discord or somewhere that we can share these ideas and discuss further?
I think the best is get in touch with me or Anna directly. So at 5 Gyres, that's the easy way to find us. Info at 5 Gyres. All the plastics information you'd like is there, as well as just go to info at 5 Gyres. Just inquire, and I'll reach out. I'll get back to you as quickly to engage. Yeah, I'd love to hear your ideas.
Right on.
I can also connect you if that is difficult and you want to reach out. I can also make that connection.
Thank you. Thanks, Athena.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Marcus, Dr. Marcus Eriksen. Thank you so much. This exhibit is here now. This is the grand opening of it. It is here. I'm sure we'll be adding to it over time, but you're welcome to come back. You're welcome and encouraged to watch the documentary called Junk that is over there. It's about 30 minutes long. You can stay after this session and watch it. Come back anytime. It is always in the World Selector under special projects. And we encourage this conversation to keep going. So please talk amongst yourselves, talk in your communities, regional reliance, and figure out the solutions. A huge thank you to our campmates whose camp dues make gatherings like this possible and keep the experience open and accessible to everyone. We cannot do this and keep the servers spinning without you. If you've been enjoying BurnerSphere today, we encourage you to help us sustain it and invite you to join the community and contribute as a campmate paying camp dues. So we are going to take a short break. We're going to meet back in Center Camp at 3 p.m. for our third session of the day and our last session of the day with the Alternative Energy Zone. This is one of the largest theme camps and oldest theme camps at Burning Man, and they do not use any fossil fuels at all in their camp. And then they're going to teach ways in which we can take this technology and use it at home. So we will see you back here in about an hour, right here in the digital dust. Thank you so much. Oh, would you like to take a group photo?
Should we get a photo?
Yes, I'd love to.
Sorry.
I saw you with your stick out. So we all
Yeah,
pile in. Let's try to get behind him. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Yay!
Is there a way to like crouch down?
Oh, beautiful people. Ready? 1,
Yes.
2, 3. You're awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. You're welcome. Maybe Doug, can you take like a picture of all of us together with Marcus? No, I'm asking a lot of Doug. Okay, everyone pile around.